You can type those questions into the Q&A box and we will get answers for you. So I am going to introduce the Wonder team here of Miranda and Gloria. Miranda is our advanced trainer that works out of our Calgary facility, which you can see behind her. For those of you that haven't seen Calgary before, this is what it looks like. Beautiful mural up on the wall. And then Gloria, who is one of our volunteers in Calgary, and sounds like Miranda's right hand. And so I'm going to let these ladies jump in and introduce themselves. And I'm going to pick on Miranda first. Miranda, tell me how it is you came to be at PADS.
Many, many, many moons ago, I met a fabulous person. Just in case people don't know him, I'm actually going to get up and show you a picture of him. So this is Vern. We keep him on the wall so I can be inspired all the time. Vern was a client for Pacific Assistance Dog Society and happened to come to the vet's office that I worked at. And I was one day gushing over his amazing dog, Charlie, and was just saying how wonderful I thought he was. And Vern was so charismatic and charming. And he goes to me, well, you know, dear girl, you could help us. We're starting our PADS Calgary program again. You could volunteer and raise a dog just like Charlie. And I was like, oh, they give you dogs? I didn't read the fine print where you have to give the dogs away again. I'm really good at that. So it's probably been about 13 years since I started with PADS as a volunteer with my first puppy, Holly. And then I'm sure Tara remembers our first introduction where I, inconsolable, heaving, sobbing when I found out I had to turn my dog in Friday, not Sunday, and she fed me hamburgers, and it's been a love story ever since.
Yeah, yeah. And it started a great tradition of feeding people burgers and French fries when they turn in their dogs, early or otherwise. So.
Gotta eat your feels when you turn them in.
Eat your feels. So awesome. Well, I knew that story, but it's nice to have Vern on the call with us too. So Gloria, tell us, answer the same question. How is it you came to be at PADS?
So about 4.5 years ago, or a little bit more than that, I guess, we had lost our pet dog, and we'd always had dogs in our lives or pets around, and we knew we wanted to still kind of be involved with animals, but we were in a stage in our life where we didn't necessarily want to give a full-time commitment to owning another pet from young. And we were also interested in maybe giving back to the community a bit, and we're looking to get involved with some volunteer work. And one morning we were watching the news, and there was Wendy, our organizer here in Calgary, was on the morning news on our local news with a little segment with a group of volunteers. They had a litter of puppies that were going out to some volunteers. The pups were just ready to be released. And so that was the first we'd ever heard of this program. We thought, well, this looks like it might be something we could be interested in. There's animals, there's volunteer work, it's with the community. So we went to the PADS website to find out more about the program. Looked around and to see what exactly PADS does, and we liked what they're involved in and the kind of work that they do. So we put an application in on the PADS website, and then Wendy contacted us and invited us to come observe a class that was going on, a puppy class in Calgary. And we showed up, and there was this room full of lovely puppies running around, and we met some of the volunteers who were very friendly and really informative, and we never looked back. We just kept on with the program.
Amazing. Okay. Well, Miranda, tell me a little bit about advanced training. And actually, before you start, for those of you that are watching, I know a few people have just chimed in just a little bit later here. So if you click on the Q&A box on your screen, you can type a question in for either of these lovely ladies or both or me, and we will answer them on the call for you. But feel free to type questions in. We'll let Miranda talk. I won't interrupt her with questions, but then we'll get back to them after she answers my next one. So Miranda, you run a little bit of a different advanced training program in Calgary. And so tell us a little bit about that, because we have programs in the Lower Mainland. We have a program on Vancouver Island. We're kind of thinking outside the box here so we can increase our capacity. But tell us what it looks like for you in the Calgary region.
So I've been advanced training full-time in Calgary for 2 years in August. Prior to that, Laura was innovative enough to start a pilot program with a couple of off-site trainers to see if we could start to move more dogs through our program without overtaxing our already full system within the Lower Mainland. So in Calgary, now that it's not just me, I actually have a full string of dogs. Previously, I was doing 1 dog at a time or 2 dogs at a time. We have 4 dogs in general, which means I work closely with 4 advanced sitters who are my support system for, is that, oh, that's what's happening.
You're sharing the screen.
Me, but I'm not, it's someone other than me. Sorry, I shared my link, so it's probably completely my fault. So I've got 4 dogs in general, and I work closely with 4 advanced sitters. I kind of joke that I'm a bit of a magic school bus for dogs. Usually what happens is I wake up in the morning, I drive off to my first person's house, and I see how their night was. I pick up a dog, and I move on to the next spot until I've collected all of my dog friends, and we arrive here at the training center or at a field trip location of our choice. And then at the end of the day, I drop them all back off again because my husband loves me a lot, but I have 4 dogs in my house already. 5 if I bring an advanced dog home. Sometimes 6 if I bring
Crazy.
a dog home. So we have a firm 3 dog limit.
A firm 3 dog limit on your 4 dogs?
Yeah, exactly.
So about as firm as Jello. Okay. All right.
He loves me a lot.
He really does. He really does.
But I love my advanced sitters because they are kind of, as I was saying before, the meat and potatoes of what I do. These are the people who I co-train with, and we're really involved as a team to find successes and holes and other training challenges that we work together, because there's a lot of times where, you know, Gloria has a dog on the weekend, so maybe she's going to have more opportunities to take the dog somewhere that I might find too time consuming to do during the day. So we kind of tag team how we raise and train the dogs out here.
Nice. And I had the pleasure before we went live of seeing your current string. Do you want to share who's in the room with you right now?
Okay, I'll take you on a tour again. Hold on. I got
A little tour.
my wheelchair. All right, so under the table, this hard-working fella here, I don't know if you can see him, is
They're working hard.
Yeah, they're all working hard. And then this is Mally, also working hard. You're looking at what advanced training looks like a lot of my day. Oh, I found an awake one. Thank goodness. This is Paxton. He just joined us. He's, oh, back to bed. Yep, really hard-working dogs. And last but not least, Swell. Swell's the guy who goes home with Gloria.
Nice.
Yeah, he's lucky to have her, and we're lucky to have all of them. So yeah, I'm really blessed, and we have the best dogs in the world, and I get to hang out with them during the day, and we work together to turn them into amazing service dogs.
Excellent. And Gloria, tell us a little bit about what it looks like for you. So what does an average night or an average weekend look like for you with an advanced dog? And maybe talk about Bright. What did that look like with her? Like,
well, pretty much for any of the dogs. So Miranda drops them at the end of my work day, and they come home with me and they spend the evening with us. I feel lucky enough to have a dog accompany on my evening walk that I try and do every day, and we work on their loose leash skills. If it's a dog that's going into service, depending on where they are in their training, I try and find things for them to do that relate to their training that is out in the field. And so I'll try and pick a route where maybe there's some crosswalk buttons that they have to push if they've already learned how to push buttons. So they're learning to locate buttons that are different shapes and that kind of thing. I'll ask them to maybe jump onto some rocks along the route when we're walking or that kind of thing. Just try and pass them out to different stuff that they would be asked to do on a normal in their work life. So they spend the evening with us all night. They're with us in the morning. We usually do maybe a couple of minutes of training in the morning before, so they can earn their breakfast, so they're not too hungry to go to Miranda. We like to give them to her pretty hungry, but not starving. So the dog comes with me to work in the morning and spends a few hours under the desk, just chilling out until Miranda comes and lets me know she's here, and off they go to university with her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we have a few questions that have come in. So I'll start with one of my favorite people. Nicole Whitford says, "Hi, Miranda. Have you ever had a dog come into advanced training that looked like they wouldn't make it as a working dog, but they did? What techniques did you use to make that dog successful? I love your training videos, and Walker sends happy barks."
Oh, hi, Nicole. So awesome to have you on here. Gloria will know, she's maybe laughing too. I'm worried about every dog who comes in. Literally every, I'm like, Gloria, I don't know about this one. XYZ. Bright.
There seems to be a point where they hit a wall, right?
That first month is usually like, well, I mean, there's a lot. It's, as we know, a dog who comes in, there's a cortisol spike from the transition. So that's why we have an assessment period of roughly 4 to 6 weeks. And if we're going to see something weird and wonderful, that's when it's usually going to show up. So if they're barking, if they don't know their name, if they don't know what to do without having food in your hands, if they don't really like you and don't care to like you, usually it shows up in that first 4 to 6 weeks. And that's really, I think, it's just me going like, I don't know. With every dog, and I'm like, Gloria, this one's a little, what word do we use? We're like, interesting, challenging, unique, special.
Yeah. This one's an enigma. We use that a lot. This one's an enigma.
This is a mystery wrapped inside of an enigma, folded within like a problem. And a lot of the time, the first 4 weeks is just letting them build a relationship. If we're going to talk about Bright specifically, you know, I kind of say there's 2 things a dog, or at least like 2 things that I really am focused on looking for when I get a dog in for advanced training. It's like, do they like the work? So that might look like, are they down to play tug with me? Do they like to do cool games for food? Do they like, are they pushing me for engagement? And do they like people? So sometimes, ideally, a dog likes both. So it's kind of like a teeter-totter of how motivated are they? They can be less motivated to make you happy as a human being if they really love what they're doing and the job is the satisfaction. Or if they also, you know, if they're a little bit less food motivated, a little bit less hunger for work, but they're really motivated to just make you happy, then that can usually kind of balance out maybe that they're less food motivated. So, but those ones, the ones who are just working to make you happy, can look a little bit trickier in the beginning because they're not like, what can I do? They're like, I don't know you. So it takes a lot of relationship and building and gameplay and stuff like that to when we first get them. So we usually start with fun, cool things and just working on the basics of loose leash walking and engagement and play. What about you, Gloria? What kind of stuff do you usually work on?
Yeah. When they're at home with us, we'll do a lot of find it games. Like you say, carry on with the tug. And every day they go for a walk with us, so we're working on loose leash. And yeah, like you say, initially that's the bulk of it. That first month.
Yeah, if we get a dog who comes in with really solid obedience, then we can spend more time doing fun, like, you know, gameplay and maybe some shaping, introduce that. But a lot of the time, if we're not exactly sure, the first thing we're doing is exactly what a puppy raiser would do. There's a quote that I heard from Clicker Expo that I like to use all the time, and it's from Ken Ramirez at the intro last year's Clicker Expo, and it was the theme of the expo was advanced training, which I was like, oh, I know about advanced training. And Ken said, advanced training is just doing the basics really, really, really well. And that's all it is like, we're here just to focus a lot on those basics that sometimes our puppy raisers have busy lives and they can't maybe, or the dogs are challenging. So they come in and that's what we focus on, is just doing those basics and breaking them all back down. I think people think we do a lot of sexy stuff, and Gloria can attest to this. It's a lot of heels and sides.
Yeah.
I'm very particular about heels and sides.
So Miranda's claim to fame might be heels and sides. I will never forget, actually, it was when she arrived with that first dog, Holly, that she turned in, that she raised, standing in the training center and doing a pivot. So she would just turn in a circle and Holly would just like scoot her bum around to basically like follow her. So she was staying in this beautiful heel. And it literally was I know everybody teaches heel and side that way now, but it was the first time I'd ever seen it. And it was so impressive. So, because most of our dogs in those days would do this big, long circle, like they'd travel 5 miles to get to within the range of their leash, but they didn't know how to move their back feet. So how times have changed. So
we're going back towards that though, Tara.
Excellent. All right.
Swinging.
All the swinging. So, okay. So there's a couple more questions. And I think you can answer both of them. So the first question is, what do you mean by advanced sitter? And the dogs are over 18 months, correct? And that question came in as you were introducing your pups. So, so can you just talk about, I realize we probably should have prefaced this with what is advanced training. Can you answer that, Miranda?
So advanced training, so I am your dog's university professor and Yentl at the same time. Like, I'm matchmaking and career counseling and professing with skills and working with my, what do they call your teacher, like your partner teachers?
TAs.
Yeah, my TA, Gloria, my TA, Stephanie and Corey, like Chantel, and why I can't remember.
You're just blanking today. It's because you're on camera.
Carmen, she's really important too. So I have my TAs that we work with together to go through a curriculum for when the dogs leave their puppy raisers. So the puppy raisers are their first and most important trainers, and they have their dogs for about 2 years. And they're doing all of the hard work of all the way from preschool to high school. So they're doing all of the basic but really important and actually fundamental skills that the dogs are then going to use once they leave their puppy raisers. So depending on the dog, right now we're getting dogs in just over 2 years. I'm going to say in some ways that's a lot better, because my dogs tend to come in very mature and really ready for a client. So there's none of that I have to really struggle through adolescence nonsense, because usually the poor puppy raisers, just before they come in for training, like the dogs are just like a hot mess. They want to get out this dog out of my house, and then it gets better. They get neutered. Everything's starting to look good, and then they're mine.
So you take them at their best.
Yeah. I snatch them out of their houses, and I get to love them too. But hopefully, it's hard, and we have a lot of empathy for being a puppy raiser, because I've done it. I mean, a lot of our advanced sitters, the people who the dogs live with in Calgary while they're in advanced training, my TAs, they are the ones, they've also been puppy raisers. So we absolutely understand how hard it can be to give them away, and how important of a job that the puppy raisers end up doing for us.
Nice. And I know you mentioned this earlier, but we've had a few people come on, and Lori's asking, how many dogs do you have at a time?
Usually I have 4 out here. I'm doing plenty of driving. And since COVID hit, I'm supporting with client stuff as well. So 4 seems to be a nice number for the program at this time. I know in Burnaby, they actually has a string of 8 dogs right now. It really depends on the campus that they're in, how many dogs the trainers can work with at a time. It's kind of you want to have enough dogs that you know, I can go through 2.5 cups of dog kibble and still have more dogs to work, but not so many dogs that I can't make it all the way through my dog kibble allotment and I have hungry dogs at the end of the day. So it's kind of a fine line. But for right now, we find that 4 to 5 dogs in the advanced program is a good number for us.
Yeah.
In Calgary.
For those that are watching that don't know the difference between the two areas. So our Burnaby program, we actually have a kennel facility in Burnaby where the dogs live during the week. So the dogs come in there, they live in the kennel environment Monday to Friday, and then they go home with sitters on the weekend. And so where Miranda's talking about the amount of driving she's doing, our trainers, you know, Monday to Friday can come into work and the dogs are there for them to work with. As opposed to having to drive all over town and pick up 8 dogs, which would take your whole day. And your wonderful sitters, I'm sure, also need to get to work, et cetera. So you have a limited window, I would imagine. So
most of my sitters have full-time jobs like Gloria. So one of them was a teacher, one couple was a teacher, two were a teacher for a while. One works in a social work program. Gloria, I know she's mentioned that for her part-time is best. So we've been able to work together to accommodate people who are amazing dog trainers and are really dedicated to the organization, who happen to not be able to take a dog full time. But we're so lucky that we have their skill set to assist me in helping move these dogs into their final destinations.
we should also probably clarify, because it's getting louder and louder behind you, that Miranda, our facility in Calgary, has shared with the doggy daycare. So the yelling, the dog yelling in the background is not actually Pad's dogs. They're all sleeping, but it's the dogs next door that are having a party. So it sounds like they're having all day, right? Yeah. So we've got a couple comments here. So Sarala, who we met last week, is just saying Bright was super lucky to have you both, Miranda and Gloria. And Carol Ann, who's one of our amazing clients, says hello to the fabulous Miranda from Bronx that Miranda raised and trained. They miss you. They would like you to know that. So we're getting near the end of our time here. If anybody has any last minute questions, please pop them into the Q&A and we will get to them. Oh, and there they are. Sabrina wants to know, how long does it usually take a new dog coming into advanced training to adapt to sleep or work continuously with other dogs? So I think the sleeping would be more relevant to the Burnaby program, but I think you can probably take a stab at it, Miranda.
And Gloria can kind of speak to this too. So depending on the dogs, some dogs, a lot of their day is spent hanging around, being patient with boring people stuff like Zoom calls. But they're usually pretty familiar with that from puppy raising, depending on the home that they were puppy raised in. I'd say most of the dogs kind of settle into the routine pretty quickly. And at first, I might tether them to their beds just so they can be successful, but I spend a lot of time paying them for just chilling out and relaxing while each dog takes their turn at training. We do a few exercises, in a group, but mostly it's one dog at a time. And the rest of the time, they're just learning actually really important service dog skills and manners, which is a whole lot of nothing. Just being patient, even when exciting, awesome stuff is going on, that you have to maintain your downs or your place commands on that's not to be broken. If you come off, we just pop you back on, and it pays you better to hang out and sleep all day. But they do get playtime. Usually they make sure that they have a sanctioned romp, and then we're very lucky. I don't know if you can kind of, where is it? You can kind of see back there, I've got a treadmill. So the flip outs, and Lindy Porter sponsored a treadmill for the dogs. So a lot of times if I've got a dog who needs to be on a diet program, or if they're a little bit antsier, I'll put them on a half-hour program in the treadmill so that they're not like coming in wired, and then I'm like, hold still.
Excellent. Okay. So there's one other question. So Emily is just asking, what was Bright like in advanced training? What were her strongest skills to learn, and what did she struggle with the most?
Sorella, do you want to take that one first? Or sorry, Sorella? Gloria?
Gloria.
Her puppy raisers probably spoke to her.
Yeah. Bright is super smart, and she always wanted to do new things, but that was the thing. She always wanted to do a new thing. So I think probably the thing she struggled with most is ties into that strength of hers, is that she always wanted to learn something new, but then when you wanted her to repeat something, she just wanted to go on to something new. So getting her to continue on with the thing that you were asking her to do, like pushing the button several times, she kind of look at you like, I pushed the button, I know how to do that. Now what? Let's do something new. Let's try something else.
Oh,
I don't know.
Bright.
Anything else, Miranda?
Bright, I wouldn't, I just loved Bright. Bright really fit into my house really well, which means that she was a lot of trouble. It's like Bright was like, she's a lot of dog. Like she is a girl who needed a job. And if you weren't giving her a job, she'd probably be a bit of a monster. Bright could have probably even gone to be a detection dog because she's got lots of, like, she likes playing tug. Oh, it's time to go drop off dogs to Gloria. She's got lots of drive. She likes to play tug. She wanted to do things that she found really interesting. And when the stuff started getting a little bit repetitive or it wasn't like a ton of fun for her, she liked the work. But if the work wasn't fun, then she was like, this isn't great. And she was one of those girls who I was like, I don't know if she worked because she liked me, because she was really kind of like kept her cards close to her chest a little bit. But then once she became your dog, she was so incredibly special. She would do anything because she had a relationship with you. She was just kind of a slow grow on that relationship. And so that's why, when I first came in, I was like, I don't know about this dog.
For those of you that weren't here at the beginning, Miranda did say she feels that way about every dog, so not just one.
Literally every dog. Don't worry. It could be like the world's best dog, and I would be like, not so sure about that. And it's not, but it's like, it's not a knock on Bright. It's just like, it's like getting to know your dogs is the most important part. And it just goes to show how hard our clients end up working to build those relationships with a brand new dog. And so, the more dogs I get, the more I go, I don't judge books by their cover anymore. Each dog is their own individual person who will have their likes and dislikes and strengths and weaknesses. And we just play around a lot to make sure that we're finding out what it is, because they're all going to be different and they're all going to be challenging in their own way. Even the best dog in the entire program is going to have something that they're going to be really quite weak at. That's going to take a lot of Gloria's heels and sides.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, there's something to be said. I know, Miranda, well, you've had enough dogs that you know this, and as have I, is that every dog is different in terms of how they bond to their people. I have had dogs that I have raised, like Merlot that I raised. I could give that leash to anyone and that dog would perform at 100%. Like, she just lived to please whoever was at the end of the leash, didn't matter who. And so she's a dog that always transitions super nice. And then I've had other dogs, and I'm not going to name names because then it feels negative, but that it took them months. Like, they would go to somebody new and they'd just be like, I don't know you. I don't care about you. Like, where's my person? Just give them back. And so they take that time to bond, but it's really cool to see what they're like when they come out the other side of that. And I
think it's a bad thing. Like, the cool thing about Bright is that it's two sides of a coin, right? It's like, maybe she's not a golden retriever, loves literally everybody, and is, humans, I love them. But you know what she is she's so loyal to, the person that she has a current relationship with, right? And so I even found it for me, she ended up going, I know it was like a tough transition for her puppy raiser, and then she became my dog, and I was like, oh, this dog loves me so much, and I'm special to her, and she loves me. And then she went off to Jan for 3 months, and Jan brought her in, and I was like, Bright! And she's like, oh, yeah.
I'm with you.
That's actually an amazing quality for a service dog.
It is,
Like
for sure.
it is a really important, amazing quality. It's a little bit humbling for the person who's like, I just love you so much. I cried when you left. And she's like, she's going to be like, when I meet Stormy one day and she's going to be like, oh yeah, you, nice to see you. Do you have snacks? Nah, I'm good. I'm with her.
Well, and I think that's one of the really nice things too, is when that bond is really strong, it means that those distractions out in the world and people and even advanced trainers and puppy raisers don't flap them, that they can just go, they can see those people and not lose their ever loving minds. And,
It's cool when they don't need you anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I know it can be hard, but it can also be, because it hurts my heart a little bit, but it's so awesome to see that that dog doesn't need me to be okay. And they're actually exactly where they need to be. So that's one of the worst and best parts about, we love Goldens because they make us all feel special. But when you have a dog who's a little bit like Bright and she's more on the cat spectrum than on the Golden Retriever spectrum, when they pick you, man, it's because they would do anything for you. And that's really super cool all on its own. So it's not a bad thing. It's just can be a bit of a challenging thing when you first get them. You're like, this dog doesn't like me.
Well, I'm laughing because I almost mentioned this dog as an example, and then I thought that's probably, like, I don't want to actually call it out, but Nicole just commented Walker 100%. So I know, like, Nicole and I are good friends, so I know her early days with Walker were super tough, but it was just that bond that needed to grow and build.
Worked really, really hard with that dog, and you know what? They make you work for it, but the rewards are all worth it because they are just your dog, and it's a thing that's a little bit special. So it's hard and frustrating and a little bit, for a month and a half, really quite worrying, because you're like, I don't know if the dog actually likes me or if they'll be able to transition to a client. So they have to go to the right person.
And Nicole just said it took 6 months for her to even look at me, no joke. And I'm like, oh, Walker. I do remember we used to go out together to coffee shops and stuff, and she'd be like, Walker. Walker's just like, meh.
Yeah.
Anyway, poor girl. Anyway.
Hi, I'm worth paying attention to, I swear. Otherwise you're not gonna eat, so you might as well like me.
So different dogs, right? So I'm looking, and the last question, and I think this will be our last because we're definitely well over time, and I want to respect that everybody has jobs and lives to get back to. And your timer went off. You need to go take Gloria a dog.
Gloria knows where I
am. So Lori is asking how many dogs, and I don't think we have the stats on this, but how many dogs don't pass advanced training? I think program-wise overall. Do you want the stats, Miranda, or do you have them?
I don't know them offhand for program-wise. My understanding is about 50% of the dogs career change to something they prefer to do, other than one of our program streams.
Yeah. So across the industry, the success rate's about 40%, but that's not just advanced training. That is, so puppies that enter at 8 weeks that ultimately come out the back end as into one of our program streams. So where PADS is fortunate is we do have kind of 4 program streams. And so it allows us to place a wide variety of dogs, as opposed to if we were only, for example, training hearing dogs, which are a very unique personality type, we probably would have to wash more dogs because all those soft, sweet, lovely AFD type accredited facility dog type dogs wouldn't have a place to go. And because our program is diverse, we have the opportunity to kind of make more of them successful. So, Gwyneth just asked, we're training them to be service dogs or they go to someone else. No, so Miranda is the girl that does the magic. So the puppy raisers raise the puppies for the first couple of years. And then they come to Miranda. She layers on top of all that hard work, the skills that everybody thinks are so miraculous. So the button pushing and the lights and the switches and picking items up, etc. And Miranda will always tell me that it's not magic. It's just the basics done well. So hopefully
dealing with your unneutered male dog at the dog park for the 10th time and you're about to choke them, but you don't. thank you for not choking your dog and waiting for it to grow up and come to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you, Gloria and Miranda, for jumping on the call and sharing a bit about your experience with Bright, but also just more about advanced training and what it looks like for the two of you in Calgary. And I also want to thank our silent participant at the bottom of the screen here, Lanny, who has been trying desperately to keep up with Miranda and I, who I call fast talkers. And so you've done a valiant job as always, Lanny. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody who's tuned in to join us. And please come back next week, because next week we're going to be joined by Margaret Hicks, who is our training program manager out of Burnaby, as well as Bright and Stormy. So the finale of our little series here. So come back and join us, and you'll get to meet the dog we've been talking about.
And sorry, we don't have any Malinois chasing cows this time.
Yeah, no Malinois this time.
There's Malinois, there's just no cows.
So for those of you that were on the call last week, there were Heather's dogs in the background chasing cows. So it was herding, a different kind of entertainment. So thanks everyone so much for joining us. We will see you next week.
Bye, thanks guys.